right, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, January 28th, and this outreach is being held here at Holyoke Media. My name is Carl Jackson, and I'm from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and I'll be moderating this discussion. If you wouldn't mind, please muting your line. Before we begin, I want to outline some basic guidelines to ensure the outreach goes smoothly. Please sign in using the sign-in sheet or write your name in the chat on Teams. If you're participating online, you'll be called on in the order in which your name appears on the sign-in sheet. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes for initial comments. If time permits, participants will be allowed additional time to comment. All individuals are welcome to provide further comment at another hearing or through the other means that will be mentioned below. Please do not speak when others are speaking. Online participants are urged to mute their devices until they are called upon. The moderator reserves the right to remove participants who are disruptive or who behave in an inappropriate manner. So we're here to hear your thoughts and gather feedback on PVTA's transition to electric paratransit vehicles. PVTA has received funding to explore and implement battery electric paratransit vehicles, and your input is essential as we move forward. Our goal is to better understand any challenges or concerns that you might have regarding this transition. Today is about listening to your experiences, addressing your questions, and using your feedback to help guide us on this important initiative. Your comments are essential in having a comprehensive understanding of the impact of the change and that this would have on PVTA riders. Again, we are here today to listen to your comments. There are also a number of other ways to provide comments via email at comments@pvta.com, via phone at 413-732-6248, extension 2237. You can leave a message for up to 3 minutes, or you can visit www.pvta.com and complete the comment form. I would now like to introduce Mr. Paul Burns, Director of Transit Operations from PVTA, who is going to provide a brief presentation which will provide an overview of the paratransit fleet electrification process. We do have additional staff from PVTA and MV in attendance should anyone have specific questions.
I think it's just PVTA today.
Oh, sorry, it's just PVTA today. Please be advised that the purpose of this hearing is to solicit your input. Unless there are specific questions relating to these changes, staff will simply be accepting your comments for review. So without further delay, Paul, you want to go ahead?
Can you just check the chat in there too? Good afternoon. Thanks, Carl. This is the second in a series of presentations around the greater Springfield area. We're presenting in all the gateway cities that are served by the Springfield Garage. So this second one in Holyoke, just a brief outline of the types of project that we're working on, the types of vehicles that we are considering, and of course we'll go over some of the considerations. Then we're also trying to get feedback on just how individuals feel about the particular options available to them. One thing I would note at the start of this is that this entire transition is really limited by the number of available vehicles for purchase. At this point in the market, there are only 2 readily available paratransit vehicles that are ready and electrically equipped. It's very difficult in the market. There's a lot of hybrid vehicles, but if we get into some of the hybrids, not hybrid engines, but hybrid construction. So the minute we get into a hybrid construction vehicle, the cost goes from between $100,000 and $300,000 to $400,000 or $500,000 a vehicle. So that limits our ability to make an awful lot of different decisions. Of course, Buy America also limits the number of vehicles available. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not here to judge. It's the operating environment that we work in. So just some general PVTA information. We're the largest of 15 regional transit authorities in Massachusetts. We have 24 member communities. We serve an area of 600 square miles with a very diverse mix of urban centers, rural communities, and suburban communities in the middle. We're funded with a mix of state, federal, local, and fare box funds. And in this particular case, this is funded entirely by a grant from Mass CEC. We contract with 5 private operators to provide fixed route service and demand response service. And that also includes maintenance and operation functions. And this is just an overview of our service area. The entire service area is in the green and red highlighted areas. The service area impacted by the paratransit fleet electrification is in the green service area only. This will serve what we call the southern tier of our system. That's not to say that electric vehicles won't necessarily traverse the entire system, but they'll be primarily based out of the Springfield garage, and this is the area that they predominantly serve. In terms of general demographic information, 29% of our trips are for work, 36% of trips are for educational purposes, 1 in 9 trips are for shopping, 1 in 10 trips are for medical appointments, 68% of our riders are low income, and 58% of our paratransit riders are people of color. General trip purpose for paratransit, 10% of the paratransit trips are for work, 1% are for education, 21% of trips are for shopping, 64% of trips are for medical appointments, 36% ride at least once per week, and 37% ride at least twice per month. The other dynamic to note in paratransit ridership is we have 2 types of riders. We have paratransit ADA service, which is a complimentary service to fixed route for folks with disabilities only. And we also offer a senior dial-a-ride service that is for folks who are 60 or over. The application process is very different for the 2 processes. To be a dial-a-ride rider, all you need to do is reach the age of 60. For paratransit, there's a significant eligibility process, and you must be determined unable to access the fixed route in order to use paratransit. Our fixed route bus fleet has a total of 187 vehicles. We currently have 25 hybrid buses. 8 of them are 40-footers. The rest are 35 and 30-foot vehicles, but most out of the 25, I think the most are 35-foot actually. We also have 19 battery electric buses, 35 and 40-footers, and we have 4 articulated buses, and those are all diesel powered. Those are 60-foot vehicles. For the paratransit ridership, in FY19 we did 260,582 passengers. In FY25 we are getting closer to FY19 numbers. We're at about 82% of FY19 numbers at 212,568. 2021 was the lowest ridership year for PVTA's paratransit in a very long time. Of course, that was the result of the pandemic. We were at 42% of pre-pandemic ridership. The ridership has changed, so I'm not sure that we will ever quickly get back to full pre-pandemic ridership on the paratransit system. We have recovered on the fixed route, but the paratransit ridership, there's a big change in who's riding now. We see a lot more seniors riding prior to the pandemic, and we see fewer actually ADA paratransit riders riding. Some of that's changed because programming needs have changed. I think some of that has changed because of remote work, and I just think the dynamics of some of the programs have changed, so fewer folks are riding in general. Our current paratransit fleet is 137 gasoline-powered vans. They are all Ford E350s or E350 dual wheel. There's the current 8 passengers vans. I don't know why weight is there. That shouldn't be there, but it accommodates up to 2 wheelchair positions. The driver's license required is a Class D. The useful life is 8 years or 100,000 miles, and the fuel for all of those is gasoline. We are looking to transition to either or both of these 2 vehicles. It'll probably be a mix of the 2, the Ford Transit EV and the ADA Pro Max EV. We had initially hoped to buy 10, but we did the study on the cost of infrastructure, the cost to upgrade the electrical system, and to acquire the vehicles. And the cost of electrical upgrades is just, you may or may not be aware, it's increased dramatically. So from the start of the grant process to the actual award of the electrification for the pilot program, the cost has increased from about $150,000 to $400,000. The cost of the vans has also changed a little bit, although we still believe we can get the Ford Transit EVs for about $120,000 apiece. We also want to try to use the ADA Pro Max. The difference between the 2 is that the Ford Transit EV is a pretty standard, typical vehicle. The Pro Max is a low-floor vehicle. It's a little bit roomier, It can, in theory, accommodate up to 3 wheelchair passengers, although I think if you put 3 wheelchairs in there, you're putting nobody else in there. You do not need a lift on the Pro Max. But that vehicle is closer to $400,000 as opposed to the 120. So we're trying to find a way to at least get that in and pilot it, and see if that's an improvement for passengers. There's, some folks have concerns about also going to a low floor vehicle as well. So, I think no matter what you do, there's a plus side and a minus side to everything. Right. And what's going to happen if we had this right now? I don't know if it could even be on the road. We would just have to see. But that's where we are now. So the Ford Transit van can hold up to 3 wheelchair passengers as well. I cannot imagine us ever putting 3 wheelchair passengers in a Ford Transit van. You would not be able to take any ambulatory passengers. It's also a little challenging because the rest of our fleet cannot handle three wheelchair passengers. So we can do 2 on every vehicle that we have. I think to make that change and then have to deal with that just in terms of scheduling is going to be a little bit difficult. We'd also, not be able to mix trips. Basically, the van would have to go out as wheelchair only or non-wheelchair, and that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense in the way we operate. So we'd probably stick to the 2 wheelchair configuration, and 2 wheelchair, 2 ambulatory. We could do 1 wheelchair, 4 ambulatory. And in theory, that van can accommodate 7 passengers without a wheelchair, but that gets kind of tight, and we would probably keep that at 6. On the ProMaster, it's a little bit bigger. You'll see the 2 seats up front, although we will not be allowing anyone to sit up front with the driver. It's just fraught with problems. The configuration that we're looking at is the design here, so that you can get 2 wheelchairs in there. Whether or not we move one could go behind the other. But to make that accessible to anybody else, we'd have to remove a row of seating. So we're still playing with just how we will configure that. While it can hold up to 3 wheelchairs, we're looking again at probably keeping it at 2 and removing enough seating to make sure that we can also get able-bodied passengers into the back of the van so that we can do the mixed ridership. So now we're looking for your thoughts on this. So just if we could go around the room, both online and in person, do you folks think that the paratransit vans that we currently have meet people's transportation needs? And if you don't have an opinion, that's fine. Sure, Patty?
I see them around, and I'm always happy when I see kids, students.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, we need to have, so that everybody at home can hear you, we need to have you on the microphone. I'm sorry. Thank you, Carl. I do this so frequently, so.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm always happy when I see the buses with students on there going to Holyoke Community College. I'm assuming they go there because
Yes.
they get on the bus there. I do think electricity certainly is a better option than gasoline. Some of the questions I had, if you don't mind, the number that this gentleman gave us, I've got the extension 2237, but what was the original number?
732-6248.
There you go. Thank you. Okay. And you were talking about the wheelchairs getting on these buses, and how about the scooters, that people ride around in the scooters?
Yep, they can also accommodate wheelchair scooters. I mean, we are able to bring folks on who also use walkers and use the walker to stand.
Okay, great.
Try to get most of those folks on using the stairs. It's just a little bit more normalized, but some folks will require the lift,
Okay.
and we can accommodate those as well.
And one of the questions I did have at the beginning when I said I had one question, I have seen signs all over the city about PVTA, and I just was wondering about those, what they were there for.
Those are temporary stops for the R24.
Okay.
We reconfigured the R24 routing. It used to do a one-way loop. It would go down, I'm going to get this wrong, go down at Hampden Street to Main Street, stopping at Unions at HTC, and then it would go down Main Street to the Holyoke Mall, and then kind of go back on that same track.
Okay.
In the spring, we put it on a round-trip route, so it still goes from basically Lincoln Street at the Stop and Shop, but now it runs a 2-way loop. So it runs down to HTC, then it runs down Beach Street, up to Holyoke Mall, and then back again, and up Northampton Street, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So we do a loop through the community rather than doing that one-way service down Main Street. And then on Main Street, to make up for that, we added frequency to the R29. So the R29 serves Main Street every half hour,
Oh, good.
all day, Monday through Friday, and I think it's every 2 hours, every hour in the week on Saturday, and every 2 hours on Sunday.
And how about going to Holyoke Hospital, Holyoke Medical Center?
The B23 and the R24 serve Holyoke Medical Center.
Okay. Let's see. And again, because I drive a car, I really have not been on a bus in a long time, but I think it's great.
We can arrange a trip.
Okay. I'm in. The 60 and over dial a ride, that was new to me. So I'm wondering how you get the word out to people, since unfortunately we don't have a newspaper except for the Holyoke Sun that people will read. So I think they lose a lot when they don't have that. So
we do work with the senior centers to
Great.
get the word out. We partner with a lot of senior centers throughout the area. We can work with senior centers to get handicap accessible vans for service. We're doing that
Great.
now. We did an application that included the Holyoke Senior Center this year.
Great.
We have some transit programs with other senior centers.
yeah,
So we do outreach that way, and we also do outreaches in each of our member communities.
yeah. And one thing I've always said to, I should have introduced myself, Patty Devine, I'm a city councilor at large in Holyoke. One of the things I've always said to people, getting the word out is a big deal, but everybody that either owns or rents gets an electric bill. So to me, maybe you can work with the gas and electric to put a little notice in there
Yep.
with the phone number, that type of thing, especially with the 60 and over dial a ride. So, but thank you for doing this today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? And then if not, we'll move to the next question. All right, we'll go on to the next question. So we're just trying to get a feeling for folks' general perception of electric vehicles. Oh, I'm sorry, Lynn, did you have a question? For some reason, I don't have volume here. If we can just... Or is Lynn muted? Lynn, I think you're muted. If you can unmute.
Yeah, it's better.
There you go.
Thank you. Nice to meet you this way anyway, Paul.
Nice to meet you.
Face anyway. I'm Lynn Horan, currently chair of the Commission on Disability, and I am also a wheelchair user myself. So just knowing how difficult these things are, and you have a lot of information, just back to your question, waiting till you go through other content later. I am not a user. I am fortunate enough to have a mobility van myself for the moment, but again, I understand that many of the residents that are disabled in Holyoke that our commission represents are not so fortunate. And so I do listen to their experiences, and all I can say in terms of your question about whether you think it's successful or working with the present vehicles, that I can say I'm just pleased we live in a state where we have accessible public vehicles. It's huge. Not everybody is that fortunate. And all I would want to know, and I know again, and maybe that just requires me doing more discussion with you at another time, is if the readership, I'm always concerned when ridership goes down. As we said, it's hard for any of us to do reasonable stats on these issues, especially in healthcare, transportation, due to COVID. But it always does raise a red flag for me why people aren't riding. And there could be really positive reasons. And that's all I really wanted to say. So I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of the information you all have for us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I still can't, were we able to get to the chat? There's somebody in the chat. I want to make sure we get that. No, let me see. It's unfortunate, but I'm not the most tech-savvy person here. But Oh, yeah, just, okay, Lynn, yep, so Lynn was able to speak, so we've dealt with that. So that's all that was in the chat, thank you. So if no one else has any comments right now, we'll move on to the next question. So the next thing for us is we want to know what you think, and if you could rate on a scale of 1 to 5 your familiarity with electric vehicles, with 1 being no familiarity and 5 being very familiar, and just let us know where you fall in that range. Anybody who wants to start, and unfortunately I have to bring you up to the microphone to start, so.
Hi, sure. My name is Marlene Connor, and I would say I have a 5 familiarity with electric vehicles since I have 2, and 1 doesn't work. Anyway, there we go.
No, we have 1. I have my own opinions of it.
Yeah. So the issues that I have been aware of with regard to electric vehicles have to do with range, how far vehicles can go. But of course, I think that is all manageable, more easily manageable in a paratransit program on demand where people call. And so those, from a service perspective, range seems to be the transit issue that's been impacting the use of electric vehicles. But otherwise, I think they're great if the technology is there.
And Patty? And if you don't want to stay there, I can repeat your comment as well. So if we're just going to give a ranking, if you're going to do comments, then please step up to the mic. But
Probably a 2 to 3.
and 2 to 3 for Councilor Devine.
Yeah, and I certainly see the EVs on license plates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What I always wonder, take People's Bank for example. They have 2 stations. I guess I'm not sure what you call them. People have to bring their car there, plug it in, and then they have to leave. So I don't know that that's a great thing.
That's a public aspect of it, though. Typically, and I'm sure Marlene, your case is the same. We have 1 EV. We have our own charging port at the house.
Yeah.
So they pretty much come with a charging port.
Okay.
And that's the same thing. That's what we're dealing with now in the installation of charging ports for the PVTA. We'll charge primarily on site. We will use remote charging as a backup.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online want to rank them? I know I'm having a hard time seeing the names here. Can we change? Scott, are you able to change the display, the view and the speakers, or the participants? Thank you. So I don't know if Joanne or Lynn or Sarita want to give us a ranking on vehicles. And sir, can we get your name? Mm-hmm. Alan? Yes. And did you want to participate as well?
You want me to come up or you want me to sit here?
If you could just come up and introduce yourself so they can get you on microphone. And actually, the microphone is right over here, sir. If you can. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, we can escort you.
Yeah. If you could just, the question we're asking right now is how familiar you are with electric vehicles on a scale of 1 to 5.
Yeah, I'd say like a 4 probably. I'd say I'm familiar with the more so with the electric buses.
Okay.
Less so obviously it's similar technology. As kind of going with the concerns too, kind of thing. My one thing is with the I know it's been a problem with some of the buses that if it's because as we've seen obviously the last couple of days there's a we live in New England, it gets very cold.
It does.
So the problem there is a issue with the when you turn the heater on the range goes right down. Mm-hmm. So we want to figure out how we can obviously ideally we don't want to have to resort to diesel generators, but I know like MBTA in Boston they've had to do that. So
and all our newer vehicles have diesel generators for heat in the
yeah.
winter. It's just a necessary cost of doing
unfortunately.
business.
That's what happens when you live in New England.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sarita, did you have a comment?
Sure.
Thank you,
I am
Scott.
very familiar with electric vehicles. I've had an EV now for 5 years. So, and I appreciate so much what PVTA is trying to do for electrification. So That's where I'm coming from. Very excited to hear the program continuing.
Thank you. Anyone else online want to comment? All right, we'll move on to the next question. And again, same process. So if you want to comment, please step forward to the microphone. Do you see any benefits for your community to electrifying paratransit vehicles? And if so, what benefits do you think this will have for your community, in this case for Holyoke?
Yeah, it's Patty Devine again. I would think there's no, I don't want to use the word smog, but there's no, in a gasoline
Yep.
bus, I'm assuming that there will be some.
There are emissions,
Yeah,
yes.
emissions, thank you, where the electric won't. So I think
Correct.
that's a good thing.
Yep.
Patty and I'll just be pesky.
And that's fine.
Marlene Conrigan, and I think, you know, from a benefits perspective, clearly the environmental impacts would be positive, so I think it's a great idea.
Excellent, thank you. And Alan, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, Alan Kwan again. I just wanted to, obviously, again, I think that it's a great program. I mean, obviously, we're going on the direction of decarbonizing the fleet, and I think that, again, I think the state, I'm pretty sure, is also, I think most state agencies are working towards decarbonizing, and I believe that, obviously, it's no emissions. It'll, it's much better for air quality. It also, it's a quieter ride for the customer. It's a smoother ride for the customer. It lessens street noise. I think, all around, I think the, I've ridden the electric buses. They're a very good experience. I think that, obviously decarbonizing is very good, but I also do think it benefits passengers too.
Thank you. And how about the folks online? Anyone have any comments on this question? Sarita?
Yes, I'm going to echo what the other folks have said. I lead the Healthy Air Network and the Pioneer Valley Asthma Coalition, and so we have very high rates of asthma, particularly in Holyoke and in Springfield. And so anything that we can do to prevent, to improve air quality is excellent. And we have as we have collected air quality data for the last few years, our analysis has shown that transportation corridors are the main sources of particulate matter in our region. And so anything that we can do to electrify public transit or other and encourage people to take public transit as opposed to their own vehicles is really, really important. So I think there's tremendous benefits, both in terms of air quality and in particular in terms of health and well-being in the communities.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments online? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next question. So do you think there could be challenges with electric vehicles for paratransit trips? And if so, what do you think they could be? Anyone? Alan?
Yeah, so Alan, again, I think, for any public transit, there's always going to be challenges. You can't assume that there'll never be challenges. But I think that particularly for paratransit, these vehicles are out on the road all the time. So, the concern, again, as people said before, again, potential range issues, potential, things like that. Also, there's a thing of if the vehicle is, because the batteries typically add weight. So I wonder I'm not sure if that could obviously potentially, because obviously paratransit vehicles do come with a fair amount of heavy equipment for securing wheelchairs, a lift, obviously things like that. So I wonder if that would, that could further diminish the range. So I'm not sure what the, again, the exact, but also just again, because there really aren't that many commercially available products. It's not as much. It's not as robust as the electric bus market. Mm-hmm. It's you have to you really want to. Obviously, it's gonna we want to look at find the right vehicle, and I think it's going to be more difficult to do that.
Yeah. At this point, Alan, we have two choices, an ADA ProMaster, which is a Dodge Ram platform, and Ford Transit vans. Those are the most readily available vehicles. So we are looking at buying a combination of those two vehicles. And did someone online have a comment? And just wanted, we have another person who has joined us, that's Juan Anderson Burgos. And Juan, did you have any comments or thoughts?
I do have a comment. So it took me about half hour to figure out how to get into this meeting simply because I'm using a state computer. The state computer kept refusing, because it's not on the state calendar. So I had to Google how to get into the meeting. So in other words, I apologize for being late. I'm usually early, and I was just simply stating that I was late for that reason. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any thoughts on electric vehicles that you wanted to share, or any comments or questions you had at this point?
No, I love them all. So
Okay.
this is a good idea. That's why I'm here, to support.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments on challenges they think there could be with electric vehicles? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next question. Overall then, and this is just a poll, are you in favor of electrifying PVTA's fleet? And yeah, if you just want to give me a show of hands, I will just, so in the room we have 3 folks out of 3 who are in favor, and online, is there anyone who is not in favor online? And we see no objection online as well, so we'll record that. Thank you. And if it's not repetitive, we have a follow-up question, why? Obviously, if you're just going to come back and say the same thing you said, you can just, I think I've already stated those reasons, but are there additional reasons to why you might favor the transition to electric vehicles? Okay, we'll go on to the next question. And this is I guess a quantification question. How much of PVTA's paratransit fleet do you think should be electrified? The options we have now are none, all, half, or some other amount. And I think that is more the appropriate question at this point, just from the challenges I'm aware of, but I want to hear your thoughts as well. So, and Marlene is going to speak first.
Such a pest. Marlene Connor, I think, once you have done the pilot or demonstration of it, then I think moving towards, if it works, then moving towards, as much of the fleet as you can electrify, that makes sense. Again, based on the range, sort of the range and weather issues.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Patty, I see you moving, so.
Patty Devine again. It's certainly worth looking into. I don't think you should do it all right away, but certainly as many as can be affordable to the PVTA to do this, I think would be great. And again, I think it's great. I think it's the future's here,
Yes.
So.
Excuse me, thank you. Yeah, oh yeah, we're keeping the drivers then. And Alan, you have thoughts on this as well?
Yeah, Alan Kwan again. I just wanted to, I think that, I think a lot of the, in a lot of cases, this is very similar to when we electrify our bus fleet. I think that obviously it's not going to happen all overnight. We're not going to buy 200 vehicles at once. We don't, but I think, over time, once we've established the feasibility, I don't see any issue. There's obviously challenges, but I think it's, it's very doable. And I think that what we should do is, just kind of, eventually, phase out all of our older vehicles. Eventually we'll get to being all electric, but, progressively buy electric vehicles to replace our older gas-powered fleet.
All right, thank you. Anyone online have any comments? Lynn?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm sorry, multitasking, overloaded computer running hot. I got kicked out. So Juan, don't feel bad. We all have our tech issues. So my question, first, if you haven't already gone over any aspect of this when I was missing, is how do you compare general maintenance costs with fuel oriented, gas fueled vehicles in terms of maintenance? Because I hear from lots of people, whether it's private or, and by the way, my husband has an electric truck that he loves. But and again, in terms of maintenance, I know institutions, senior centers, for instance, one of their biggest costs when they provide accessible vehicles, particularly because they have their own issues when they do have lifts or ramps. How does the cost compare maintenance wise with an electric vehicle?
So I don't think the cost of maintenance on lifts and ramps will change. The modality is pretty similar for both a diesel or gasoline powered and an electric powered vehicle. There are savings on the routine maintenance for electric vehicles because there are no oil changes. There's far fewer moving parts in the engine. However, with the fixed route, we have noticed some increased maintenance costs around software. So you may be trading off a set of problems. We're not entirely sure yet, based on our experience, that there is a big maintenance savings. There is some. I don't think we can quantify it yet, and I think some of the software issues were unanticipated. I don't know that we'll have the same level of software issues on a van. The van technology is just more tested. The paratransit vans are very similar to your home personal vehicle, so the equipment, the technology is a little bit older. The number of batteries you need is fewer, and I think just the communication between the batteries is sometimes the problem that we have on the fixed route buses. So I suspect that maintenance for a paratransit van will still be lower cost than it would be for a bus, and it would be for a comparable paratransit vehicle.
And I appreciate that. The only thing I would add to that, I guess, is, obviously the reason we purchased and did our own test with an electric vehicle is we waited a little bit longer than a lot of people to see if they could work some of the bugs out that you're talking about. For instance, obviously there's new electric vehicles of all sorts coming out all the time, and we're learning, but we still have questions. I think most people would like to hope that it would at least balance out because of the fuel cost issue, and particularly since our vehicles are staying within a certain locality. Anyway, I guess my other question, and again, because I know this with my own mobility van, one of the issues, because it has the accessibility feature for that undercarriage, not everybody knows how to replace and repair that. And so it requires disabled mobility van owners like myself to go to Connecticut or to a particular place that addresses that specific issue, accessibility. But I would even say beyond accessibility with these vehicles, who do we go to, and will it be easy to find the places where they're knowledgeable and experienced with repairing our electric vehicles for this system?
So we do our repairs in-house. We've trained our staff. I think we'd continue to train our staff to do the repairs in-house. There will be some issues that we have to subcontract out, but that's pretty rare in our system. And usually we do it not because we don't have the capability, but because we just don't have the manpower in terms of time. So it would typically be a bigger issue. If we're doing a powertrain or a transmission or something like that, we typically send those out, but not always.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I would expect. Again, difficult questions, but I feel like I'd be reticent, that I would be neglectful not to ask those kind of things. And again, in our even gas-fueled vehicles, we all know and get frustrated with the numerous electronic components already that we have even in those vehicles. So again, trying to do an apples to apples comparison. I appreciate your answers.
Well, thank you. And were there any additional questions? You said you'd had a couple, so I just want to make sure we've got yours at this
The
point.
only other thing that I was wondering, and again, forgive me if this is something else you've been through, Marlene Connor also here, and I obviously talking with you about how we can help transportation for disabled folks together and like-minded. That one of the things, for instance, if say our senior center has already applied, or any senior center, of course, in this area, has applied for an accessible vehicle through your system already, that normally can take 1.5 years to actually get it from application. If we get chosen or we want to go with an electric accessible vehicle, is there a possibility because of this pilot program that we might in Holyoke be able to receive it faster than the other process?
Not through the pilot program. That grant has already been awarded. That would require a new grant application, and I'm not even sure they have an open round yet. And that will still, we've been at that process now. We are, from writing the grant to today, we are probably 18 months into that as well. So the unfortunate part is none of these are quick. You go through the application, you go through the award, and then when you go through the award, there's still going to be preliminary steps. So it might be a little bit quicker if we were to go through and say we wanted to get a van for a particular agency. But they don't at this point have a round of funding. And I'm still, at least for the paratransit vans, I know the state has pre-purchased these. I don't know if that means they're readily in inventory or they're just on standby and there's an order that will be fulfilled. The electrics, I don't have any idea what the timeline is on delivery right now. This is all new to me as well, and I'm learning that one along with everybody else. I know the gasoline-powered ones are about 1 year to 18 months out. So that's kind of the timeline we are all stuck with at this point, unfortunately. And some of that is simply manufacturing. If they're not in the pool, or if they're not in if they're not available now, they're not available now. And we have to wait for construction.
And you obviously can't absolutely, without a doubt, project what need is too. Right. So I get that. And that pretty much answers my question as far as that goes. And back to your question of would I likely support it? I would say as a pilot program, as someone who thinks, we already have these vehicles on the road, that it is certainly worth it for our city if they have that opportunity to at least pilot and test it out and see, because no better way to find out if it fits our needs than through that. So I would support that, knowing what I do know now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. And for the question on the slide now, how much of the fleet do you think should be electrified? Either none, all, half, or some other amount? I was asking Lynn, but she's ignoring me now, so. So we'll move on to the next one. And would anyone like to share any other comments or suggestions regarding current gasoline vehicles or future electric paratransit vehicles? And there may be no other comments. I don't know. If there are others, feel free.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I was late. Oh, yeah, Juan Anderson Burgos. So I'm not sure because I was late, but so the rollout of these new electric vehicles, is it to be assumed that the price of, transportation, would those prices increase, decrease, or stay the same?
Well, this is a grant, so there'd be no impact on riders in terms of cost. I think for the long-term future, that's an important question. I don't know that we know the answer to that. We are looking at, and I can just go back to that slide for you, Juan, so you can get a glimpse at what we're looking at now. So these two vans, the Ford Transit Van EV and the ADA ProMax Van EV. The ProMax is a Dodge Ram platform. The Ford Transit obviously is a Ford platform. It's a similar platform to the ones we use now, but it's a little bit smaller vehicle. The Ford Transit van is costing us about $120,000, and the ADA ProMax will be much closer to $350,000 to $400,000. There's some reasons for that. It's a little bit bigger. The model and the low floor model makes it a little bit more pricey in terms of configuration. However, we also think on the ProMax that it's going to be much easier and it's a much more normalized way to board a van for somebody with a disability. If you're boarding the Ford Transit van and you're in a wheelchair or you're in a scooter, you need to access a lift to get on board. With the ProMax, you can pretty much ride up on your own with minimal assistance, and it's a normalized approach, which is where we'd love to get. We need a crew and we need the funding.
And a curb.
Yeah, and a curb. And a curb, true. And the state of the market now, though, and I haven't touched on that in this presentation, the state of the market now is that EVs are tending to go into the background a little bit because of the current political environment. Ford will not be making the Ford Transit passenger van after this year. So we're going to buy the industry.
The industry will be in big trouble,
Yep.
by the way.
Yep. So it's just, there are challenges here. We'll navigate the system. I'm sure that, the market will dictate what we're going to end up with in the end here. We also don't know what new technologies are coming in the future as well. So, hydrogen could play a bigger role. Compressed natural gas, propane could all play different roles as the market develops. Regardless of what any one administration does, I do think also that there's still money to be made in renewable energy, and that's going to rebound one way or the other. I hope that answered your question, Juan.
It came with a lot of package, but yes, I completely understand. And again, I'm always thinking about affordability, especially when I used to rely on transportation before I bought my car. When I made the decision to go to UMass, it was something I relied on. Mm-hmm. So I'm just making sure that that y'all are doing the right thing, and that I'm supporting you based on that. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, you can talk to your boss to make sure that we got the fare free covered still.
Oh, I see what you did there, my friend, and I got you. That's why I'm here. That's why I've never worked so hard to get into a meeting as much as this one. Let me just tell you.
I appreciate your efforts, Juan.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other general comments? Marlene?
I would ask Marlene Connor. I would just say that whatever PVTA can do to make its fleet more flexible, to provide service as people's mobility needs are changing, and the closer we get to, a universal mobile system. Sorry.
Almost a fantasy. But.
There you are. It's been my running fantasy for 40 years, but hey, there you go. So whatever, however we can do this, I think, I've heard as well on Ford. I think the Ford Transit's going to be a huge blow to the transit industry, but the transit industry is going to have bigger problems than that.
Yes.
So, like the bus, the trains, and
they're still making the cargo platform.
Okay.
It's just going to change the cost of a retrofit, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure if other folks will be able to do that, but we'll see what the market plays out.
Okay. But yeah, so I appreciate that you guys are trying to have the system work effectively for all of us, because it's PVTA is all we have between us and like walking.
And we're going to prevent some of the walking, we hope. Alan?
Alan Kwan again. I just wanted to, so a couple things you guys touched on. I think that obviously PVTA, it provides a very important service. Do I think there's room for improvement? Absolutely. I mean, again, as I was saying with the electric vehicles, and even with the future gas-powered orders, ideally, I'd like for us to move away from the high floor cutaways that we currently have. A lot of other RTAs in Massachusetts are doing so. Obviously, they're a lot smaller than we are. But, I think Merrimack Valley, I want to say, they've committed, I think they pretty publicly said they're never going to buy a high floor cutaway again. Obviously, again, ideally, I would love PVTA to do something like that. I think, again, obviously, we have a big fleet, so obviously it's going to be difficult. We don't have MBTA levels of funding, so, we wish. But also, it's not just, I think, that's obviously one part of it, but other things like, because obviously the low floor fleet, it's, I think every ADA passenger would agree with me that no one likes riding up on that lift. I think it's noisy, it's annoying, it rattles around in the back. It's annoying for the passengers too. So I'd love to, because if you just roll on, it's a lot easier. I mean, but also I think investing in things like new technology, new customer-facing software, new like improving how we do scheduling, things like that. I think that's also.
Well, we may have some surprises for you in the near future.
Oh, nice. Because like for example, I know because I live in Amherst part time, but I live also in the Boston area. So I am like at MBTA. We just got brand new scheduling software a few months ago. It's beautiful. It's I can, because it's not like I don't have to stand in the cold now waiting trying to figure out why my thing is 20 minutes late. Yep. Which I love. And also, but again, and obviously we're very fortunate in Massachusetts that we have a governor and a legislature that are very supportive of public transit especially at this point in time. And I hope that continues. I hope they'll continue to fund the Tri-Transit program and keep the, obviously because the ADA service is, I'm glad that we're, because before I'm personally, I'm very glad that we went to being fare free because we were still on the cash and ticket system earlier before this, which was, I think everyone hated that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So.
Well, as long as they keep funding it.
Yeah, as long as they keep giving us money.
Thank you, Alan. Anyone else have any comments? Oh, Patty? I don't know why I'm surprised.
Patty Devine. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but nonetheless, thank you very much for having this here at Holyoke Media. I've learned an awful lot that I did not know, and I do still think that we need to get some kind of communication out there to the people. And like I said, the gas and electric bill or a telephone bill.
That's an excellent.
Most people get that.
Excellent idea. We will.
And Jim Lavelle from the Gas and Electric, super guy. I don't know if you know him, but I'm sure he would be helpful.
Okay. Thank you so much. And Lynn, I see your hand up.
Of course. And Patty and I are like-minded, and I just wanted, first of all, to say I appreciate the city councilors that came today as well. That's really important. And again, these vehicles are especially important to our community and really to the state of Massachusetts, because statistics are 1 in 4 people in Massachusetts are disabled, and that's all ages. And in fact, one of the things that the Commission on Disability is going to do with their current budget is to conduct a survey, so we find out where people are, how old they are, what their needs are, and this will be a good part of that. But again, we find, I know Patty and Juan are the same mind, that it isn't one public official or one community activist or one resident. It really is all of us working together. So I'm hoping that as this goes along, you will have more meetings, and certainly ask of us when we can be helpful to you as well, to both of you. in this process or any transportation processes. We'd be more than willing to answer questions or try to get the word out. And that again comes back down to what Patty said, and what we know too is I would like to hear from more residents that ride. If there's a way that we can get their interest or get them to come to some sort of meeting in our community in a comfortable fashion that they can get to express, what they see those needs are, and in terms of this specific application with the possibility of electric vehicles, what their feeling is. I feel like they're going to know better than even I will. And finally, yes, please, could we have like a little group? I promise we'll all try to behave, including Patty or Juan and anybody else here, and definitely myself, because I do have a mobility van and I don't use public transportation so much anymore, especially with the wheelchair. I would like to see how it feels to be in their shoes and in your shoes. So if there's a day, preferably after snowstorm weather, maybe. But that would be great if we could do a little trial run. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I do want to note, Lynn, from in part answer to your question or your comment, we do also have a Paratransit Riders Council at PVTA, and they meet monthly. They are made up of representatives of each of the regions, not necessarily each community. Holyoke has its own rep, although the Holyoke seat is vacant, so we are still looking for a rep to represent Holyoke in the Paratransit Riders Council. I also want to take a moment. I didn't see everybody on here when the meeting started, so I just want to take a moment and introduce PVTA staff who are here today. Obviously, myself, I'm the Director of Operations for PVTA. Ben St. Amand is online. Ben, if you could just say hello and introduce yourself. Maybe Ben is not online.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Ben. Yeah.
Hey. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Benjamin St. Amand. I'm the Safety and Compliance Coordinator here at PVTA, and I work closely with Paul.
And then Alex Forrest, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Alex Forrest. I'm the Manager of Planning and Analysis at PVTA. I tend to focus more on the fixed routes in my work, but I also work with Paul on a lot of things.
Thank you, Alex. And then we have folks representing our paratransit provider also online. We have Tiffany Duff, who's the General Manager. Tiffany.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tiffany Duff. I'm General Manager at MV Transportation, and we operate PVTA's Paratransit division.
And Jason Miranda.
Hi, I'm Jason Miranda, MV Transportation, operating the PVTA Paratransit. I am the Safety and Training Manager.
And I'm sure I'm not just speaking for Tiffany and Jason. I'm sure they'll agree with me that we can certainly arrange, a demonstration for the paratransit van so that folks in Holyoke, if they want to get more familiar with it, we can set up some times to look at it and do a brief trip around Holyoke, perhaps. And we'll coordinate with whether it's you or Marlene, or we can make that happen.
I was at a conference. I was at a conference this year, Marlene Connor, sorry. I was at a conference this year, and I was watching a AI-driven paratransit vehicle that is being built in
I have so
Florida.
many concerns, but
So yeah, I did a tour, a VR tour of the vehicle from Jacksonville with with a number of disabled people from the Access Committee at APTA, and it was kind of a neat vehicle. It was really interesting. The discussion on the AI side was the concern with the lack of a place on that vehicle for, say, if there were a driver, but there's no driver. So the seats were just kind of in the perimeter. It was like a box floor. It's a box, and everybody's kind of seating around it, and there's a place for a wheelchair to a couple of wheelchairs to slide in, but no place for like a operator or somebody to be there to be of assistance. And
case,
so
yeah.
the general discussion of the AI mode was that there was some concern with the fact that in those vehicles, there doesn't seem to be like a place for there to be a person.
Yeah, and I mean, who does
Yeah.
door to door?
Yeah.
Just some of the challenges. Who does door to door?
And so there was a demonstration of how you get into the vehicle and how you strap yourself. And anyway, it was quite a complex process. And I know they're investing in those in Jacksonville in Florida, but so concern on
Yeah,
the AI side. So keep the drivers.
Oh, absolutely.
Keep the drivers, please.
I think, if you can't, because you're probably violating the law by not having, if there's no one after door service, you're probably violating the law there.
Yeah.
You're violating the ADA. Sorry.
So we are at time. If anyone has any final comments or questions? All right, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate the feedback. This has been a very interesting session. Thank you.